Oh, okay, interesting. I think I'm listening more. Um, I'd say there's certainly a lot more reflection and striving towards acceptance and a reduction, obviously, and not a total void or erasure, but there is a reduction in judgment of self. Um, how else has my mindset changed? Hmm. Maybe also a reduction in kind of concerns about how I'm perceived or how I may come across. Obviously, again, still there will, inevitably be underlying loopy thoughts and such, but I feel like I have moved away from some, at least the deafening concerns. Um, Perhaps also a bolstering of belief in my own decisions. I think that was always a challenge of mine to actually think, oh yeah, that's a good decision. And the decision could lead, or it could lead from, decisions of what I want to do in life or what I want to do in a day, or actually the decision of an answer to a question or the decision of that is the thing I remember. So actually, rather than second, third, fourth, fifth guessing myself, actually having a bit more self belief, I suppose, which is always, you know, an aim. I think I'm a lot more aware when I'm being very unkind to myself. I think that I would let a lot of the narratives continue without questioning them. And even though they'll still occur and they will be quite regular, quite loud, I feel like I'm at a better stage now where I am actually kind of stopping and saying, wait a minute, that's not a helpful narrative. That story isn't helping me. You know, I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm pathetic. I'm weak. I can't deal with things, for example, many different narratives. And actually, rather, of course, they're still going to upset me, but it's almost that I've got the space or found more space in which to question them and realize they aren't true, they're not helpful, they're not useful, they're not kind. Um, yeah, so I guess a lot more. My thoughts have become a lot more reflective on the narratives that I've built up throughout my life, and perhaps starting to review, analyze, and hopefully shift the stories that I've been believing all this time. Right now, I think that there's a lot of space for people, for their minds, for their heads. And I think for some people, this will be probably very challenging, especially people who have maybe escaped through the busyness of the world, the jobs, the getting absorbed by everything around, by consumerism, by everything going on, the media, etc. But I think at the moment there's a lot of space and time in which people maybe have had to spend time with themselves. Of course, that's probably been very awful for some people and also very challenging for others, and also probably wonderful for others as well. I think there's probably been a big array of reactions, and I imagine everyone's had their own kind of journey with it. So it's really interesting to think how much will change from this space and how many decisions will be made differently in the future and how many more perspectives will be shifted from, I guess, all of this, for want of a better word, silence that we have um, perhaps been blessed with I want to say blessed because I feel blessed with the silence. Obviously, it definitely has brought its own challenges, and there's been a hefty amount of roller coaster up and downs. But I feel like I feel hopeful that it has brought clarity to a lot of people, even if that clarity is a challenging clarity. I feel hopeful that that clarity will provide change, necessary change. It's a mixture of, it's a very holistic thing, actually. Wellbeing and health for me is a holistic approach to self care. And this will entail the mindfulness of my actions, looking after the environment I'm in, looking after my physical body in whichever ways I feel fit, exercise, bath time, like even self massage or getting a massage or anything like that, touch, um, preparing food, nourishing food, being mindful with food and what I consume that way. Also being mindful with what I consume mentally. Um, if I absorb information from various channels, being aware of which channels I'm absorbing from, and being mindful of how much I'm consuming, via a screen, via a book, what I'm listening to. It's actually it's unfathomable how much we might absorb without realizing, from like a song in a shop, all the way to a conversation that you don't realize you're listening to from like maybe a family next door or someone on the street, and actually how that energy can really linger. So I think, as well as the holistic approach to care of space, of self, of others, listening to others as well, and looking after friends and family, being in touch with people, I think there's also a care for perhaps silence and space, and actually remembering existence is valuable and absolutely fine. There doesn't have to be an activity happening, and giving yourself giving yourself silence and space and reflection time, and within that, I guess, acceptance of wherever you're at is fine and it's okay. I suppose actually that I could answer in a different way. I did have a short stint of the kind of uncertainty and self-doubt and crippling, you know, unknown of, the void of the infinity of it all, of like, when will my work come back? What's going to happen? Is the world ending? How many people are going to die? The entire kind of loud narrative of everything that's impossible to know, um, in the infinity of all of that, because I realized that I had nothing to look forward to. I didn't have a structure to my days. And actually, my boyfriend said to me, Jenny, you remember when your sister was having a hard time and you gave her the advice of when she was kind of had the infinity of not knowing what was going on? You gave her the advice of structure your day, give yourself little fun things to do each day, even if it's just one or two things a day, and having things to look forward to. And actually adding that structure can really give you purpose and meaning and well-being. And I think that's been a huge part of how I've kept well recently, is planning and structuring, not to kind of, not down to like unfathomably infinitesimal kind of point, but just at least having a framework in which I can feel comfortable that I've got stuff to do, I've got a purpose, I've got tasks, from planning meals, so like we don't have to make that decision twice or three times a day, and then planning meals informs shopping, which obviously reduces shopping costs because we've thought about what we need. Scheduling just each day, so taking each day as it comes, but also having a bit of a framework to the week. So like, for example, if I've got some people to talk to, I'll actually schedule that in, and I'll be like, I have a tiny bit of work to do today, but also I need to, I'm going to talk to my friend on Friday, so that's exciting, and it makes it feel kind of like it's all towards something rather than just not knowing. And I think having too much space and unknown can actually be it can also be kind of detrimental to mental health, of like not knowing, because in that space the untold uncertainty can really shake the boat and make me think like, oh, what am I doing? But anyway, and then having purpose, I suppose. And even if that purpose for a day is, I'm going to do my washing, I'm going to tidy this box, I'm going to clear a hard drive, just kind of, tasks like that, amazing. Obviously, there'll be other days I'm like, okay, I've actually got a task to do. I'm going to design this thing, going to make this thing, going to record this thing. And actually also, I think a massive part of wellbeing for me has been like looking after my own passions as well. Like, because I think I was caught so hard in the rat race before, even though freelance version, it was very much, I was always chasing after next project, let's do a million things. I identify through what I do. Whereas actually through this time, I've kind of had a lot of time to think, wait a minute, what do I want to do? And why do I need to do so many things? Why can't I just strip it back, pick and choose very wisely about which projects I want to do, and also have some passion projects, because it's so important to have the fun bits too, because that's the play of it, isn't it? It's like work and play. If you don't have the play section, then why are you working? Well, obviously work for money, but money, that's another whole concept, that's another whole conversation we could have. But yeah, I guess making sure there is a structure of purpose is really useful, from scheduling activities, exercise, house cleaning, looking after myself, obviously work, food, when we're going to do things, and actually, yeah, taking the time to listen to myself, and like obviously also understanding that in that schedule, if I've scheduled in a few days and actually I end up really ill, or I'm on my period, or something happens, then that's also okay. And just to be like, oh, okay, and keep going. And yeah, I think having that structure has completely changed everything for me, to be honest. It's like looking into the blankness of the future and not knowing where you're going, or where your next purpose is going to come from. It's actually really important to kind of realize that, I guess, our purpose, yeah, I actually, interestingly enough, thinking about that with reflection and mindfulness, actually, the idea of self-reflection and inspection and looking after others and all that's its own purpose. Like, existence is a purpose, just to be alive is a purpose. But actually giving the framework to it, I guess, really helps kind of round it off and visualize it in a way that makes me feel quite safe, which is really interesting. Strength and resilience. I think strength to me means a willingness to be open, a willingness to trust where trust is due, and where trust is welcome, or opened. A willingness to continue in the sight of difficulties and challenges. Strength, I think, can be definitely found in focus, and even if you get distracted, kind of still going back to it, not running away from things. And resilience. Resilience is similar, actually. I suppose it's kind of almost feels like resilience is where you might get knocked 27 times, but you keep going back and you keep working on the challenges and the difficulties, I guess. And even if, you keep coming up against negative reactions or enormous challenges or difficult combat of any kind, that you just keep coming back. I don't mean physical combat, I mean kind of mental combat, I guess. But you keep coming back. The resilience is that you don't give up. Yeah. At the moment, that's an interesting question. Yeah, curiously enough, I actually think I draw a lot of strength from silence. I think there's a lot to be found in just listening to other people or to myself. Because obviously, as they say, the answers are all within. And yeah, I find a lot of strength from just like mindful existence and like knowing that things can be really simple. And actually, sometimes the weakness can flurry in when I'm looping and overwhelmed by worry and thoughts and attaching feelings and weight, gravity, narratives to all sorts of situations, memories. I find strength from silence. I also find strength from connection. So if that's my partner or my housemate or my family, if I'm kind of can't find the strength within myself, then I find it with them. I also find a lot of strength from words, just sometimes from writing. If I depends, because I'm quite lucky that I've had my partner here in lockdown, and my housemate's just come back a couple of days ago. And actually, it's really, there is a lot of strength to be found in kind of the connection and just talking if I need to. If I don't feel like, I might not verbally have the words, I find it quite strengthening, I guess, to just write it out. And it might come out as a poem or it might come out as just nonsense gobbledygook, but hopefully through that it will work itself out as sense in some kind, even if it's not immediate. It might be a few days before I realize what's wrong. Sometimes I actually find strength just from feeling whatever it is that's making me not feel strong and really tuning into it. So kind of letting my body be the conduit of that emotion, whether it's that I'm completely waterlogged with tears, or whether I'm in pain and therefore lying on the floor, or whether I'm, creating something, talking to someone, just playing some music, or just meditating. So I guess there's quite a lot of different places that strength can be drawn upon. Okay, when have I most needed strength and resilience? Definitely during this lockdown. Definitely. Because curiously enough, it's been a battle with myself, actually. Before now, the strength and resilience I might have needed to find to kind of help a situation with someone else or work out something that was going on between, a connection or a professional connection or anything like that. And actually, thinking about it now, again, that would have been a combat with myself, because obviously it might be a difficulty between me and someone else, or me and a few people, but actually inevitably it's my own struggle or combat. But yeah, during this lockdown, it's definitely been, I've needed the strength and resilience to just kind of be okay with whatever it is I'm feeling each day, because it's been such just a big old, what do you even call those things, helter-skelter of emotions. One day I'm feeling so energetic and I run for like 3 kilometers, and then I'm back, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm so hyper, and I'm just like doing a million things. The next day, all I can pretty much muster up is just like sitting on the sofa in my pants watching whatever, or not even watching anything, just sulking. And then the next day will be like I don't know, I'll feel quite exhausted, and so I'll have a bit of a slow day, and then the next day I'll be like super productive, do loads of work, and then the next day it will be like, oh, I'm feeling really upset again. So it's just, yeah, I think I've swerved right away from the question, but I think I'm still on topic. Um, I think I'm still answering the question about when have I needed strength and resilience. um, and for sure, it's been recently. I think there's been a mixture of feeling claustrophobic because I'm in a house, and before we were allowed out for an hour a day, and now we're allowed out more, but it still feels kind of like we're bound here because we're not really allowed to travel that much. And then, of course, that translates to claustrophobic in the mind, of course. That's been, I guess, where the kind of external structure actually helps, because it means that I don't feel so claustrophobic, because if the infinity's there of like, oh, what am I doing every day of my life forever, it almost feels like very stifling to just be like, I don't know, and I'm claustrophobic. Whereas, of course, as soon as I've got that structure of like, oh, well, I've got this funky thing I wanted to finish, and I wanted to update my website, and I wanted to go and make a funny film, and I wanted to go and be in nature for a bit, and now we can actually schedule that in and stuff. So definitely strength and resilience in terms of, I guess, going from kind of a million miles an hour to pretty much near zero has been a big challenge. But I am curiously grateful for it. The first few weeks, I was like, yes, finally, I get a break. I actually get to stop. And then after that, it was like, oh my God, I'm a person with human emotions, and they're everywhere. and now it's kind of like, no, we've been on a big journey, and we've still got loads to go. But I feel positive about the changes that are coming and have happened already. Well, yeah, because I just ended up answering the last question with a piece of the first answer. Um, I think it all feeds into each other. You know, we find strength and resilience through looking after ourselves and well-being. And because how can we be strong and resilient if we don't look after ourselves primarily, which for sure I was guilty of. I'm very wound up and woven into the narrative of I love to help people, I want to fix everyone. And how can I do that if I don't help myself and I don't fix myself first? I think, yeah, I'm trying to remember all the questions. So there was resilience and strength, well-being, looking after myself, where do I find strength? How have my thoughts changed? Yeah, for sure. There Obviously there are different ways of framing everything, but essentially it's all kind of interwoven into how much time and space do you give yourself? How much reflection do you let yourself experience? And how will you support anyone else unless you support yourself? And yeah, I guess that I'm the only person who can properly, I'm my own housemate in my own body. There are varying levels, I suppose. I for sure feel, the strength and connection and well-being within friends, because of course we look out for each other. We make sure we check in with each other. And I think that's a really positive sign of you know, a good connection is people who check in on you a little bit. I'm not saying that, you know, friends who don't check in on me are bad, but it is really lovely to feel that support, and also that I give it out to you. I definitely feel that with family. And community, yeah, I guess with friends and family is the main community that I feel. I've got kind of like a kind of poetry community-ish. I did a collective, like part of a collective for a little bit, and we had some sessions in real life and some in virtual life, and that was a really positive community. There's a lot of support kind of creatively, which is really wonderful. So I feel creative support from that. I feel community support from kind of friends around the area and friends kind of further afield, and family. Community in terms of, you know, the area that I live in is actually, even just the neighbours I have around, I do feel quite a strong community kind of vibe from. Obviously, I only know a few, you know, houses around, but it's a lot more bubbly and hustly bustly around where we moved to, just literally about a week before lockdown. So it's so lucky. But the place we were in before was it's kind of isolated. It was at the top of a hill, lovely house, but I feel like if we'd have spent lockdown there, it would have been a lot more, whole damn sight more lonely. Yeah, there's definitely some nice energy around here, and there's a recreational ground and arboretum like really near, so we've been very blessed with that. But yeah, I think community can really feed well into the well-being aspect, because obviously it gives you kind of the place, you know, that might not specifically give you a purpose, depending. Obviously, you know, family and friends can definitely give you a full purpose, but it can actually give you that sense of place and sense of belonging, which is so important in well-being and, you know, structure of mental wellness. Yeah, I guess the main lesson that I've been realizing recently is that there are really lovely stories and narratives and sides and conversations happening in my head, but there are also really unkind and really unhelpful and, you know, not nice conversations that are happening in my head. And where before I'd kind of try and run away from them, it's actually, that was probably basically suppressing things and ignoring. So I think it's actually really important to accept that there are dark sides, there are light sides. And I guess I'm interested to keep working towards investigating some more of the, you know, not so comfortable sides of my existence, and being okay that they're part of me, and I wouldn't be me without a lot of them, however kind of distressing or traumatic they might be. To actually kind of investigate them and accept them with open arms and do a bit of reflection on the darker, I guess, corners of my psyche. Yeah, I guess I'm really interested to embrace that as well as the positive, because yeah, there's so many sides. Like on one side, when I'm upset, I can focus on all the bad things, but then when I'm like happy and hyper, I can focus on all the good things. So actually, it's like, you know, a bit of a Venning, or classic Venn diagram, of experience. And yeah, I guess it's just really important to learn to accept everything. And obviously, I don't know if I'll ever absolutely accept everything. Who knows? One day, maybe. But I think the more space and silence and time I give myself and everything around me, the better. Basically, slowing down has, in everything, is always okay, apart from, you know, like a sprint where you literally have to race. But actually slowing down is helping me no end. Oh, and also sleep. Get good sleep. I recommend it. I've firsthand can vouch for reducing the the baggage around my eyes, and also just feeling loads better and being able to recall a lot of my bizarre dreams, which has been fun. It's been a really good influence actually, because my partner's really good at going to bed early, because he wakes up like literally as soon as the light changes, he's up. And so it's actually been such a positive influence having someone who's kind of like, I honestly, we must go to bed now. And actually, I've started being quite strict with that, because I've realized how much it changes um, my outlook on the day, how I act, how I experience everything, and my emotional control, um, and regulation, I guess, and also my energy levels. Um, so yeah, sleep, slow down, and work with what you've got.